Hello and welcome to the Boss House. Here we are trying to curb the chaos on a low income, blended family, but no shared bank accounts. So it's a little different from other budgeting channels that you might view, but I hope you get something out of it because I have a lot of experience adjusting to unusual situations and hopefully you'll learn something. I am not a financial advisor of any kind, but I am good at adjusting my budget because I'm used to life throwing me curveballs. So here we go. This is my first paycheck of January still. This is technically the beginning of my second week, but I'm just wrapping up the first week one. This is actually going to be a two-part budget check-in. This part is going to be my banking transactions, and then the next part is going to be my cash transactions because I don't actually track my cash expenses. I'm not sure if that makes sense, but I don't keep my receipts. I don't track every expense in cash. Once something is in cash, I consider it spent. If it's in one of my short-term categories. If it's a year out or longer, if it's like an annual thing, then I'll count that as savings, and I won't count it as an actual expense until I spend the money. But if it's something that I spend money on every week, like groceries, or spend regularly, like clothes, like socks, like little household cleaning supplies, stuff like that. I don't track all those expenses because it would add up to too much, especially because sometimes I'll go to the store one time, but it'll be for two different categories or even three different categories. And that's too much to track. That's too much work for me. I can't do it. So, I just count once it's in one of my little cash envelopes that I can fit in my purse. I just count that as spent. It's only the longer term things that go into this that I count as savings until I actually spend it, if that makes sense. So, long story short, this is part one, so stay tuned for the second video. I'm probably going to post it tomorrow because I actually tried recording this once already, and I had hit mute on my microphone, so there was no sound. So that was a disaster, and I want to make this a little easier on myself. So the second part, which will be my cash categories, that will be for tomorrow's video. So here we go. January, paycheck one, end of week one. I actually got paid on the 5th, so I cash stuffed $479.28, and I put that in the same color as my payday because it was spent for by this paycheck. Ha ha ha! See how that makes sense? I love it. It's really just an excuse to use different colored pens. I love it. I have so many pens, it's ridiculous. Anyway, on the 7th, on Saturday, I got gas at Costco and got a hot dog while I was there. I count that as dining out because it is not groceries, and any food that isn't groceries to me is dining out. So $1.65 for that, $69.19 for fuel. And then even though these were due on the 7th, this is a debt, Southern Associates, and so is Capital One, that's a credit card. Those were scheduled to be due on the 7th, but because that was a weekend, and also bill pay, sometimes it doesn't actually clear my account right away. So it didn't clear until the 9th for Capital One for $125. And $50 for SNA on the 10th. And then we had this glorious thing, which was honestly, long story. Turns out if you don't change the address on your car registration, when you get tickets in the mail, they show up to the address that your vehicle's registered to. And then if you don't pay those tickets because you don't know you have them, then you get a boot and then you get towed. So yeah, that was a total curveball, which is wiping out more than half of my emergency fund. I'm not happy about it. I put it in red because I was going to put savings in orange because I don't have a yellow pen, right? But I have an orange pen. But when I wrote it with the orange pen, it was too light to read, like from the camera. So I switched to red. So I think red is going to be savings because orange is too light. The orange pen is too light. So that's all for my bank expenses, which really doesn't seem like a lot, but I don't spend a whole lot of money. Most of my expenses are the cash categories, which again, too much work to track. So I just don't. If I spend it, I spend it. And then the problem is if I run out of money, then I end up using a card. That's the problem. So that's what I track, is going over budget for the cash categories. So that's it for the calendar. This page is the actual budget. I showed that last week. I'm not going to fill this in until the end of the paycheck because I want to have the full numbers at the end. I don't want to mess around with like partial stuff. So this is gonna, stay with just the budget for now. And then that's actually the beginning of next paychecks. I haven't filled in any numbers because of course I haven't. But here is my expense tracker. So again, I track my bank transactions and my cash transactions separately. Those are two separate, not budgets, but it was too complicated for me to try to keep track of everything on the same page, so I just don't. It's far easier for me to have separate trackers. So I start my checking with 0 starting balance. I have money in there, but that is actually my buffer so that I don't have to constantly withdraw a deposit based on what's going on in my life. I can just have, I'm a month ahead. So I have a month's worth of expenses sitting in my account so that when I get paid or when I spend money, I don't have to worry about overdrawing. So this is how this worked. And it's a little unusual. I know my whole budget's a little unusual, but maybe this will help you find some stability. It really helped me. So I got paid on the 5th, right? That was $816.77. Now, if you remember, I budgeted for $1068 because that is the lowest check that I've gotten so far that covers, 40 hours of work. I do get paid more than that usually, but that's because I get paid more per hour for any work after 6 p.m. and any work on the weekends. And of course holidays. So like my next check is going to have New Year's on it, and this check was had Christmas on it. So I got paid more. But I start with this because this is planning for stability. This is planning for being able to pay everything that I would like to pay. So when I got paid this short check, because I didn't get paid for my paid time off for the week of Christmas, the week after Christmas, so I didn't get that money. So my check was short. So I got $816.77. So I immediately took from my buffer $251.23 to bring me up to $1068, because that is what I'm really budgeting. I'm budgeting for $1068 because I want to have stability in my income. Because if I have to rewrite my whole budget due to a short check or a higher check, that uh, that limits my stability. I don't like it. So I use my buffer to keep my paycheck steady. And then anything I make beyond that can go towards goals, can go to my emergency fund or go towards debt. But I absolutely got to start out with having a stable paycheck. So I took that back to 1068 immediately. I stuffed $479.28 into my cash categories. That is not colored because that is a mixed category. I'm not sure. Oh, it's so weird because I recorded this already, so it feels like I explained everything already. But for me, a lot of people, they color or highlight their categories, each category a different color. I don't do that. I want to look at an overview of my priorities. So blue is work, is the things that make my life work, make my life function the way I like it to. Play is extra stuff that isn't necessary, but it's stuff that I enjoy. Now, necessary, or things that make my life work, that is, debatable. Does anyone need a bunch of streaming services? No, absolutely not. But if you want to maintain your lifestyle and maintain your life the way you want it to be, those things essentially become necessary to pay for if you want to maintain. Like, yeah, I have my Amazon Prime subscription. I could get rid of it, but that wouldn't actually benefit me for another 9 months or whatever. So until then, it's an expense that I have to pay and have to prepare for. And also, there are some things that I can't really find in stores. As much as we don't like big business and all that stuff, and Amazon can be a trap. It's kind of necessary when some things you need to get online. But anyway, long story short, play is things that are bonus. They're bonuses. Grow is things that lend to my financial stability. So things that will help me have more money next month than this month. So paycheck definitely counts as that. Savings count as that, like longer term savings, because those impact my financial stability and allow me to spend more on things than if I tried to cash flow everything. So that is why we have these colors. So paycheck is green, buffer is green because that's financial stability. Dining out is pink because that's extra, that's play. And then we had fuel, 69.19. We went over these. Debt minimums. I have this column of categories. These are actually my 12 major categories. Well, this isn't really a category, so maybe I should erase this, because this isn't actually one of my 12 categories. Buffer isn't. Buffer is unbudgeted because it's just to keep my paycheck steady. So it's not a real category, I guess, is how I could put that. I totally got sidetracked. Sorry about that. I rambled a little bit. Okay, so let's see how this actually went, right? So I had dining out, which was $1.65 for my hot dog. Gas is $69.19. Capital One, $125. S&A, which is another debt minimum, $50. And then I got to the ticket and tow. And this is where we get creative. I actually thought about paying for this with my buffer because my buffer is more than this. But then if I get another short check, I need to be able to adjust. I need to be able to compensate for things not going according to plan with my paycheck. So Um, so we didn't do that. Instead, this 1191.11 came from my emergency fund. So I took 1192 out of my emergency fund because I didn't feel like dealing with the change. I just don't. So this became this. So it covered for the emergency so that I have stability in my income, so that I didn't have to use debt. I didn't have to overdraw my account. I could just cash flow it. So that was emergency fund 1192. This definitely needs to get replaced before the end of the year. And again, if you were in my previous videos, you'd see I was planning on adding $1,000 to my emergency fund, but 500 of that was actually going to be making up for putting my boyfriend's car in the shop after his hit and run. So now that I'm also having this 1192 come out, plus whatever extra fees I have for the rental car, I can't do that. So I'm gonna have to save a lot more for my emergency fund than just the 1,000 this year. I'm probably gonna have to do 2,000, even though I won't be able to manage that with my regular paycheck. I'll have to drive Lyft for that. But anyway, that's what happened there. So this would have led to me spending more than I was making, right? Because I was budgeting for 1068. So this would have brought me down, if I didn't have savings, this would have brought me down negative 848.23. Like, would have meant I was spending 848.23 more than my budgeted amount. So that was not great. But I managed, I covered for that because I had emergency fund. Proof positive that Dave Ramsey's $1,000 emergency fund, it's not going to cover an actual like crap hit in the fan. It's really not. So yeah, I made up for that. And then yesterday I got the second part of my paycheck, the PTO. So that was actually $439.18. And because I got the rest of my paycheck, I then took my buffer money back, or put my buffer money back. So that was $251.23. So I didn't end up really using my buffer. It just kind of wiped that out. And that's the way I like to operate. I don't really want to deplete my buffer. I want to replace my buffer the same pay period if I can, because being 1 month ahead means that I don't have to constantly watch my account to make sure I don't overdraw. I don't have to check my budget every single day to make sure that I don't overdraw. Like, I'm always going to have the money to cover the bills for that month, depending on my check being short or whatever. So that actually meant that I ended this week with $531.72 unspent from my budget. So about half. A little more than half of my budgeted amount is still left, and I have a week left to go, which, that's a good sign. So that was all of my banking transactions. If you have any questions or any suggestions on how to handle this a little better, I'm always open to ideas. I think this is the best way that works for me, so that I'm always looking at my budget in terms of what my budgeted amount is on my transactions, because I don't want to confuse things by updating this before the 2 weeks are up. So this way, between this and the calendar, I really have a good view of what I'm spending and what's going in and out of my account in terms of the full budgeted amount. I hope that made sense. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, ideas, just want to say hi, please do. Like, comment, subscribe, all the things, all the YouTube-y things. I love you. I hope you have a wonderful day on purpose. You deserve it. You're valid, and you can do this. Bye.